peer, pollster and Tory donor Lord Ashcroft. He's in Westminster. And Lord Ashcroft, today you're also publishing your second book on Britain's Medal for Military Valour, the Victoria Cross. What new do you have to say on that?
Well, it's 10 years since I first published Victoria Cross Heroes 1. At that time, within the collection, I had 142 Victoria Crosses, and in the last few weeks, I managed to acquire the 200. So this is a story of 58 heroes who won the Victoria Cross, bringing the book up to date.
You're actually purchasing the medals as well as looking into the stories of valour behind them. What do you then do with the medals?
All the medals are on display at the Imperial War Museums, and I would recommend to anyone who's interested in the whole subject of bravery to go down to the gallery there, where you will see approximately 250 gallantry medals, including the George Cross, the civilian version of the Victoria Cross, and the stories of that heroism, together with stories of the recipient themselves, what they did to get the Victoria Cross, the conflict in which it was awarded, and learn further about those aspects of war, whether your interest is submariners, the First World War aces, tank commanders of World War II. It's an incredible potpourri of the bravery of our armed forces over the last 160 years.
Now, a month or so ago during this campaign, a veteran, a US military veteran, gave Donald Trump his Purple Heart medal as a tribute, and Mr. Trump, who, as we know, avoided the draft because he had bone spurs, seems to regard actually possessing the medal as the same as being awarded it. I know you don't see it that way.
No, I think my interest is bravery, not the politics behind it. And even though my interest in bravery tends to be the British military, I can still admire the bravery of many of the troops of the enemy, or in fact even our other allies. But I have made it a point not to get into the politics of the various wars that the medals have been awarded, as to whether they were appropriate or not, or justified, but purely that individual in fulfilling his duty, what he did in his own head, whether it was for the country, his comrades, his friends, or how he felt. And I have narrowed the focus just to champion the bravery in that respect.
Do you have, of your new Victoria Cross, people who've been awarded the Victoria Cross, do you have a favourite?
I have many that I admire. But I think it's difficult to pick one act of bravery over another. But some of the stories behind them have a particular interest. For example, within the collection is the Victoria Cross awarded to Lieutenant Chard, who, if you can recall, was the officer in charge of the defence of Rorke's Drift during the Zulu Wars, and was, of course, filmed in that film Zulu over 50 years ago with Michael Caine. So there's a story behind it. I'm quite fascinated by some of the World War I fighter aces that went up without parachutes in the twin biplanes. And the 200th Victoria Cross, which is added to the collection, was in fact the sixth highest First World War ace, a man by the name of Proctor, who had 54 kills to his name, and someone who in 1921, after World War I, was in fact killed himself as he was practicing for an air show.
You are, as we were saying at the beginning, a man of many interests. You also take a keen interest in opinion polls and have some carried out on your behalf. You've been looking, I know, at the American election. Who do you think is going to be elected president?
It's a very tough one. I've spent the last 6 weeks doing focus groups in a number of states. one or two things come to light as a consequence of that. It's not been unusual in some of the focus groups where we've asked them how they're going to vote and they say Trump. And if you ask them the supplementary question as to whether they have shared that with their friends and family, there has been quite a number that have said no, the reason being that they might get hassled. So one is not quite sure as to how relevant or irrelevant that may be in this turnout. And the second type of reaction is to the debates, where perhaps the establishment felt that Hillary Clinton won all the debates. A not untypical reaction from the voters in the focus group has been, well, why are you surprised? She would, wouldn't she? She's had 30 years of doing this, and isn't she a lawyer? And tends to be dismissed that Donald is not a mainstream politician, is just doing his best, and everything is from the heart and not necessarily planned, which they put down to Hillary. So that has happened. And the third has been that the focus groups in discussions have not always been on policy. They've been very much on personality, as if policy doesn't matter too much, and the discussion of the characters of both of them. And some of the description of the characters has been extremely extreme, to the extent of many calling Hillary evil, whilst at the same time you can imagine what they've said about the morals of Donald Trump. So at the end of the day here, I think a lot is going to revolve around who gets the vote out on the day today. And whilst Hillary is ahead in most of the polls, and the pundits believe that she's there, you can't entirely discount Donald. We've seen what happened during Brexit. But Adam, if anybody still feels that Donald can do it, the bookies are giving 9-2 this morning for Trump to be the next president.
Well, I don't know if you'll be risking any of your wealth on that, but thank you very much indeed for joining us, Lord Ashcroft. And of course, as you know, Sky News will bring you every twist and turn of the election results tonight as they come in. We're going to be live with both the Clinton and Trump camps in the key swing states, and also here in New York City, the home state of the candidates, and I'll be in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. We're also going to be the only